Hello and welcome to Prairie Lakes Church. In case you needed a reminder, you live in a state that has 4 seasons. You do. And in case you forgot, our state is always so gracious to say, welcome to fall. It was an abrupt welcome to fall. It wasn't a very warm welcome to fall, but it is fall, and fall brings with it a lot of really good stuff. Amongst all that stuff, maybe the best part is you decided to join us this weekend. And we're really, really grateful for that. And we think it's really good for you as well. For this part of our service, you're going to need 2 things. The first thing you're going to need is a Bible. And it's somewhere around you, we've got them if you want to grab one. A lot of us are on our phones. We use the YOU version Bible app. Which works really well. The second thing you're going to maybe want is something to write with. I know at some of our campuses you've got pens right in front of you. Grab one of those. Otherwise, if ushers at the rest of our campuses, you guys would come forward and just raise your hand if you want something to write with, and they'll find you, okay? Last weekend we began a series that's going to carry us through most of the fall. And what we're doing is we're just walking through the Bible book of Nehemiah, and we began last week, and we'll continue this week. A lot of us have purchased Nehemiah books, and so if you haven't, here's what that is. It's just a resource a lot of us are using either in our own personal study, or some of us are in small groups in homes throughout the week kind of processing some of this stuff together. I know they're available at every one of our campuses, so grab one of those in the lobby before you go if you haven't already. But we're going to take another step this week in our Nehemiah series, and as we do, I consider this, okay? This is 2 years old. This is a stat that's 2 years old, but back in 2017 in the United States of America, here's what we had, 2017. 3,476 tactical aircraft. That's like fighter jets, almost 3,500. 760 attack helicopters, 157 bombers, 637 drones, 2,831 tanks, 93 warships, 10 aircraft carriers, 31 amphibious ships, 68 submarines, 450 ICBMs, that's intercontinental ballistic missiles, and then 1.3 million active duty troops with another 865,000 in reserve. We spent about $600 billion on the defense of our country annually. And if you're wondering why I gave you all those and are very nervous about where this message is going, here's my point. Back in Nehemiah's day, you didn't have any of that. Back in Nehemiah's day, here's what you had. You had a wall. That's what you had. You had a large stone wall, your city wall. That was the only thing that stood between your home, your family, your neighborhood, your way of life, and everyone around you who wanted to take everything that you have from you. The story of Nehemiah is about a lot of things, but at its core, it's about this wall. And this wall in the city of Jerusalem had been breached by an invading army. The city had been destroyed, the wall had been destroyed, and the people that were living inside that had been conquered and deported. There was a national identity that was now scattered across the known world. And that's what the story is about. And it's about this group of people who, under Nehemiah's leadership, are going to rebuild that wall. And in doing so, they're not just building a wall. What they're doing is they're rebuilding a nation, an identity, a community, a family after years and years of all of it lying in ruins. So turn your Bibles with me to Nehemiah 3 is where we're going to be this week, in Nehemiah 3. And as you find that, heads up, we're going to do something this weekend that we don't normally do. We're in the Bible every single week, and we're going to be in the Bible again, but here's what we're going to do this weekend that we don't normally do. We're going to read the entire chapter of Nehemiah 3 together, the entire chapter. Here is why. First, I just want to see how many names I butcher. It's going to be funny to me, and it might be funny to you, but mainly it's going to be funny to me, okay? But really, here's the other reason. I don't think you can fully unpack the significance of what's happening here in Nehemiah if we just helicopter down on a few verses here and there. I don't think you can unpack the significance of it. I think we got to take in the whole thing, okay? So you guys ready? You going to do this with me? Everybody want to read out loud with me? Just kidding. All right, so Nehemiah 3, verse 1, let's go, okay? Eliashib, I'm one for one, The high priest and his fellow priests went to work and they rebuilt the sheep gate. They dedicated it and they set its doors in place, building as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated, and as far as the Tower of Hananel. Sure. The men of Jericho built the adjoining section, and Zakur, son of Imri, built next to them. The fish gate was rebuilt by the sons of Hasana'ah. Sure. They laid its beams, they put its doors and bolts and bars in place. Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakoz, repaired the next section. Next to him, Meshullam, son of Berechiah, the son of Meshezabel, made repairs. And next to him, Zadok, son of Banana, also made repairs. Let's call him Bani. The next section was repaired by the men of Tekoa, but their nobles would not put their shoulders to the work under their supervisors, right? Because white-collar people never want to do any real work, do they? The Jushana gate was repaired by Joiada, son of Paseah, and Meshullam, son of Besodeiah. They laid its beams, they put its doors and their bolts and bars in place. Next to them, repairs were made by men of Gibeon and Mitzpah, Melatiah of Gibeon and Jadon of Merinoth. So places under the authority of the governor of the Trans-Euphrates. Uziel, son of Harahiah, he was of Japanese descent. That may have been racist. Don't know. One of the goldsmiths repaired the next section, and Hananiah, one of the perfume makers, made repairs next to that. They restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Rephaiah, son of Hur, ruler of a half-district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section. Adjoining this, Jedaiah, son of Harumaph, made repairs opposite his house, and Hattush, son of Hash, let's call him Hash, made repairs next to him. Malchijah, son of Harim, and Hashub, son of Pahath Moab, repaired another section in the Tower of the Ovens. Shalom, son of Halohesh, ruler of the half-district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section with the help of his daughters. The valley gate was repaired by Hanun and the residents of Zanoah. They rebuilt it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. They also repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the dung gate. The dung gate was repaired by people who drew the short straw. Malchijah, son of Rechab, and the ruler of the district of Beth Hakarim. That was a poop joke. He rebuilt it, and he put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. The fountain gate was repaired by Shalom, son of Kol Hosea, ruler of the district of Mitzpah. He rebuilt it, roofing it over and putting its doors and bolts and bars in place. He also repaired the wall of the pool of Siloam by the king's garden, as far as the steps going down from the city of David. Beyond him, Nehemiah, son of Azbuk, ruler of a half-district of Beth Zur, he made repairs up to a point opposite the tombs of David, as far as the artificial pool and the house of heroes. You guys remember the house of heroes, right? No, none of us do. It was really old. Next to him, the repairs were made by the Levites under Rahum, son of Bani. Beside him, Hashabiah, there's Hash again, right? Ruler of the half-district of Keilah, carried out repairs for his district. Next to him, the repairs are made by their fellow Levites under the Benui, son of Henadad, ruler of the other half-district of Keilah, the other side. Next to him, Ezer, son of Jeshua, ruler of Mitzpah, repaired another section from a point facing the ascent to the armory as far as the angle of the wall. Next to him, Baruch, son of Zabai, zealously repaired. He was really passionate. The good guy, Zabai, zealously repaired another section from the angle to the entrance of the house of Eliashib, the high priest. Next to him, Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakoz. I like how they, here's his dad, and then here's his dad. Repaired another section from the entrance of Eliashib's house to the end of it. We are not done yet. The repairs next to him were made by the priests from the surrounding region. Beyond them, Benjamin and Hashub made repairs in front of their house. And next to them, Azariah, son of Maaseiah, the son of Ananiah, made repairs beside his house. Next to him, Benui, son of Henadad, repaired another section, double duty, from Azariah's house to the angle in the corner. And Palal, son of Uzziah, worked opposite the angle. And the tower projecting from the upper palace near the court of the guard. Next to him, Pedaiah, son of Parash, and the temple servants living on the hill of Ophel made repairs up to a point opposite the water gate towards the east and projecting tower. Next to them, the men of Tekoa repaired another section from the great projecting tower to the wall of Ophel. This punishment is almost over. Above the horse gate, the priests made repairs, each in front of his own house. Next to them, Zadok, son of Ymer, made repairs opposite his house. And next to him, Shemaiah, son of Shechaniah, the guard at the east gate, made repairs. Next to him, Hananiah, son of Shelemiah, and Hanun, son of the sixth son. He wasn't number 5, he was number 6. son of Zalaph, repaired another section. Next to them, Meshullam, son of Berechiah, made repairs opposite his living quarters. Next to him, Malchijah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs as far as the house of the temple servants and the merchants opposite the inspection gate, and as far as the room above the corner, and between the room above the corner and the sheep gate, the goldsmith and merchants made repairs. We did it. We did it. Good job. All right. So if I lost some of you there by the 13th time I butchered some older Jewish person's name, come on back, okay? It's quite the story, though. It's quite the story. You know what strikes me about that story besides the horrible butchering I did there? You know what really strikes me about that story is this. It's one of those very rare times where everybody had a part, everybody knew their part, and everybody played their part. Everybody had a part, knew their part, and played their part. That is rare. It is rare. It's rare that all of those things materialize together. You just don't usually get all three of those things. Maybe you get one or two, but certainly not all three. First of all, it's rare that everyone has a part. That's just really rare in and of itself. Because a lot of the time, not everybody really does, okay? And sure, sometimes the boss is going to say, when they're giving a pep talk, right, they'll say something like, you all have an important role to play here. You might think your part is insignificant, but I want you to know, we just couldn't do all of what we do without you. While you sit there thinking what? Yes, you can, actually. Like if I were to quit tomorrow, you would go find someone else, right? But here in Nehemiah, everybody had a part. Like everybody really, really did. They all did. No matter who they were, they all had a part. That's pretty rare. But not only that, everyone who had a part knew their part. That's rarer still. Okay? It's a lot more common, isn't it, for people who have a part to not really know what their part is or really not know how to do it. That's far, far more common. It's why my wife refuses to play any strategy-based card game that requires us to be partners. You guys know I'm talking like spades, okay? Like spades. She has a part to play, but she doesn't quite really know what that part is. And it's just not intuitive to her. About once a year, we force her to play spades, once a year with this couple friend of ours, and I'll just watch her agonize over it. Just agonize over which card to play. Pro tip, if you're a young married couple, here it is, okay? When you watch your spouse play a card game that you know doggone well they do not want to play, and the only reason they're doing it is because the group wants to do it, and you know they hate it, okay? Here's what not to say. Here's what not to say when you watch your spouse slowly lay a card after kind of looking at don't say this. Why did you play that? Don't. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, don't say that. Okay? But all these men and women with Nehemiah, they all knew their part. They all really did. They knew exactly what to do. They all had a part and they all knew their part. Super rare. But what makes this the unicorn of team-based stories isn't just that everyone had a part, and it wasn't just that everyone who had a part knew their part. The thing that makes it so very unique is this. They all actually did it. They all actually played their part. It's one thing to have one. It's another thing to know what it is, but to play it, right? For every person with a super weird name next to Nehemiah, and then the weird name person next to them, and next to them, and next to them, and next to them, and on down the line, miles around the city walls, every single person played their part. It's the perfect team, really. So let me ask you this, okay? Have you ever had that experience of playing on a team that was like that? You ever recall a time of kind of being on that perfect team? I mean, I thought about that. I feel like maybe I've served on a handful. I played on a high school basketball team that kind of felt like that. We all had a part, we all knew it, we were all playing it, and we had some success. I've served on a few teams in my time at Prairie Lakes that have felt like that. But they're so rare. They really are. Why are perfect teams, where everyone has a part and knows their part and plays it, why are those so rare? Well, I think it's because the necessary ingredients for a perfect team are pretty rare. And I think there's kind of three necessary ingredients for the perfect team. For this to exist, where everyone's got a part, knows their part, and plays it, there's three necessary ingredients. Number one is this. The mission, why the team exists, the mission must be big enough for there to be a part for everyone to have a part, right? It's got to be big enough. And the mission answers the question of why do we exist? That mission's got to be big enough for everyone to have a part in it. If the mission's too small, eventually you won't need any more people. You just won't. You'll have more people than parts. Team will be full. But see, Nehemiah had a huge mission. He had a huge mission. Rebuild this entire city wall. All the way around. Sheep gate, fish gate, dung gate, water gate, deflate gate, all of the gates, okay? We have a job for you. That was a Tom Brady football reference if you missed that. Everyone had a part to play. We exist. Why do we exist as a team? We exist to rebuild this wall. That's why we exist. Big, big, big mission. First ingredient. Ingredient number two is this. For the perfect team, there's got to be a vision, which answers the question of where the team is going. The vision's got to be clear enough for everyone to see their part. Clear enough where everyone can see their part. Vision answers the question of where's the team going. It's not just some sort of aspirational, idealistic, dream. It's no, like in Nehemiah, it's here's your vision, rebuild this gate. There it is. Here's your vision. It's your job to repair this section. There's your vision. This is where you're going. Here's how high. Here's your materials. Here's what we need to be done by. Okay? It's concrete, it's measurable, it's clear, it's vision, which helps me to see with crystal clarity like what my part in this thing is. If all the team has is a big mission, but not a clear vision, the team doesn't accomplish anything. It's one thing to have enough parts to play. It's another thing entirely to see which part is mine and how do I play that part. Ingredient number two for the perfect team. But there's a third ingredient, and it's probably the most significant, and that is this. See, the mission and vision must be personal enough for everyone to actually play their part. It's got to be personal enough. And I think this is why perfect teams are so rare. Not just because there aren't a lot of missions that are big enough, and not just because where it is big enough, sometimes there's not a clear enough vision. I think even when there is a big mission and a clear vision, even then, most of the time, people don't play their part. Even then. Why? Because there isn't a personal enough reason for them to do so. Now, this is the world that a lot of us church staffers live in. I just described why most of us feel like we exist. And you know it too, those of you who kind of watch us, right? Because we're vultures, aren't we? Some of you who are laughing right now know exactly what I'm talking about. You dodge us in the lobby. Why? Oh, they're going to ask me to serve on their team. I know they're going to. They're going to ask me and I just can't, right? We've got a clear mission around here at Prairie Lakes, don't we? We exist to be a no-matter church where no matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done, what's been done to you, we exist to be a place where you can look for God here. That's why we exist. And we've got a really clear vision, too. We want to see some of those types of those no-matter churches crop up all over Iowa. In fact, to the tune of one a year. We want everybody in these churches to kind of serve purposely and do their part to realize this vision in Iowa. We've got a really big mission, bigger than any of us, and we got a really clear vision. And yet, there's a lot of us that know that, right? We know how big our mission is. There's probably a part that we could play, and we see how clear our vision is. We could probably find our way and do something, but a lot of us still aren't really playing a part, whatever that is, whatever that part might be. Why? Because it doesn't really feel all that personal. It just doesn't. It still can feel kind of distant, like it's a little too far away from me and the life that I'm living. It still feels like it's kind of for someone else, somewhere else. And maybe they'll be fine without me. It feels like they've got it covered. And here's what's interesting. See, nobody on Nehemiah's team seemed to struggle with that mentality. We do, but they didn't. Nobody seemed to be thinking along those lines, like someone else could cover it, except if you're the nobles. There wasn't really anybody that just let's just wait for the experts to finish the job. That there's probably plenty of help and we probably aren't needed. Like nobody on Nehemiah's team thought that way. Nobody acted that way. In fact, in verse 1, priests are building walls. Pastors swinging hammers. Pastors doing real work for one day in their stinking lives, right? Am I right? You're like, yeah, that's exactly right. Verse 8, you've got goldsmiths and perfume makers. They're building walls. In verse 12, you have a dad and his daughters making repairs. See, nobody was waiting for someone else to do the work. All of them had a part. They knew their part, and they decided to play their part because it was personal for them. They didn't have a place to call home. Like nobody else was going to build their house for them. They were going to personally have to do it. And therein lies our problem. Because we start from a different place. We're not starting from the place that Nehemiah and his team started. We're not starting from this place where our walls have crumbled and our campuses are in shambles, and we all got to pitch in and start building some things up around here, except for you if you're in Independence, right? We're going to put some literal walls up. You're exactly in that spot. But for the rest of us, we're starting from a different place. Things are already built. In fact, it's kind of nice, right? Like you look around, like it's kind of nice. Things seem to be going well, whether I play my part or not. It's uncomfortable admission, maybe, but it's true. It's nothing personal, right? Nothing personal. But if it's not personal, we're not going to play our part. We know we should, maybe, but we're not going to, which leads us to this question, okay? Because how do you make it personal? Doesn't seem like it's something you can manufacture. And I'm not going to yell at you about, you better do your part, no, come on. How do you make it personal? When it feels like you already have a home without pitching in, how do you make it personal? When it feels like things are going pretty well, whether you play your part or not, how do you make it personal? When it feels like the walls are kind of already built, so to speak, how do you make it personal? Let's answer this question. How do you make it personal? By this. If you want to make it personal, personally invite someone who doesn't yet have a place to call home. If you want to make it personal, ask someone, hey, would you come sit with me? We'll unpack what we mean by this, okay? But before we do, listen. It might be great for you to jump in on a team and do something around here, okay? It might be great for you. You're going to get to use your gifts. You're going to learn a new skill. You're going to make a difference. You might meet some people. You're going to feel good about contributing. You're going to get connected. It might be great for you. That might be all the motivation you need. That might be all you need to make it personal, okay? Some of you are there. But for others of us, life is already pretty great. Ooh, it kind of is. I kind of already know people. I kind of feel like I'm contributing at work and in my family. In fact, I'm pretty busy. Maybe it feels like it's kind of just a win to get here on a weekend, to be honest. And sure, we could help out and play a part, but probably not going to. Nothing personal. Until you start seeing your church through the eyes of someone who doesn't yet have a place to call home. Until you start to see what it's like to be on the outside looking in, until you start to really see it. And then it's different. In fact, it gets real personal real quick. See, if and when you do ask someone, hey, come sit with me sometime, and then they do, here's what your next thought's going to be. And some of you have experienced this. Your next thought's going to be this. What is the stinking sermon going to be about this weekend? It better not be about money, right? Or some of you, right? Who's going to preach? Right? You never really asked those questions as much. Maybe you did, but not as much before you had someone on your arm. You start to wonder if they're going to like the music, or how are they going to feel if they see someone raises their hands. That wasn't on your radar before. Maybe you even would start to see and appreciate some of the things that you didn't notice or maybe took for granted, like how seriously we take the safety and security of our kids, how important their environments are, how how passionate we are about our kids having a great experience at church. Or how friendly everyone at the door in the lobby was, like genuinely friendly. Or why the music and the sound and the lights all got to be really good, Or this come as you are kind of feel that we've got. You start to take all those things a lot more personally when you've got someone on your arm who you personally invited. If you want to make it personal, make an ask. Come sit with me. Get this, okay? We don't need you to play your part for our sake. Okay? Even though we're vultures in the lobby sometimes. That's not it. We need you to play your part for the sake of those in your little Iowa who are on the outside and they're looking in. Trust me, they're here every single weekend, but if you don't want to take my word for it, make an invite. Invite boldly. Ask them to come sit with you. Play that part. It might be the nudge you need to make it personal and play your part. I want to close with a story of how I saw this play out in my life yesterday. I got a text yesterday from one of our local area pastors here in the Cedar Valley. And Pastor Q is his name. He's the pastor of Hope City Church. Hope City Church is the church that we merged our Waterloo campus with about 3 years ago. It's just a wonderful story, but there's a lot of Prairie Lakes and Prairie Lakes Waterloo people that are now members of Hope City Church. And so he was texting me to tell me about one of them. And the text read, it was 2:22 p.m. Text read, hey, Robin had a heart attack and she's not doing well. I'm at the hospital. And Robin Shattuck, his wife to Ryan, who was our custodian at Prairie Lakes and Waterloo and stayed on as the Hope City custodian. And actually, they attended Prairie Lakes for a number of years prior to that. And then at 2:46, I got a text from him saying that she had passed away. And, they've got a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old kid. Their 9-year-old was in Sunday school with my 9-year-old, right, on Kid Venture and We Kids on the weekends. And so I know this family, and I know these names, and they mean a great deal to me. And so I took off for the hospital. And some of you have lived through that moment, where there's just, it's horrible. It's just horrible, And so I'm walking up there, and I'm walking down the hallway, and you can see the family out in this waiting area. But here's what I see, okay? It's horrible, and I see pastor at Hope City and another pastor and another pastor and another admin. I see 4 staffers from Hope City there. And then right behind me is another pastor of the church that Shattuck's parents go to. And then there's me. And then I see more people from these churches come. And it's horrible. But we're here, in this moment. And I start thinking, I think about a lot of things, but one of the things I think about is this. This stuff happens every day. It happens every day to everyone. And how horrible it is, number one, but how horrible it would be, number two, if there were not people who were there crying and praying and reading scripture and crying and praying and then crying and then praying. And I started to think about, how many people in our communities are walking through this currently or are about to, and they're going to do it on the outside, not inside, not a part of the family. Listen, we have to make this personal, guys. We have to. There's way too much at stake for us to sit on our hands and talk about how busy we are. There's way too much at stake, way too much, for us to just come and sit and not make that invitation to someone to say, come sit with me. Because you don't know. Bottom line, you do not know what they're walking through, and you do not know what they're about to walk through. And not to mention eternity. So we all have a part. We all need to know our part and play our part, but we need to make this personal, and the best way, the best way is to make that ask, hey, come sit with me. Come on the outside and come on in. Let me pray for us. Father in heaven, I thank you for this reminder, and I want to pray for the Shaddix as today life is different. And then I want to pray for all those who are going to be facing down the barrel of some stuff. I want to pray for all those who are on the outside looking in. I want to pray for all those in our little Iowas who just need an invitation. I want to pray for us, God, that we would be obedient and we would just make it. And use us and this church to point people to you. So Jesus, I pray this all in your name. Amen.